Yeah, I'm focused. Okay. So guys, today we are talking about camera basics. Let's start. So guys, let's start with shutter speed. If you want to capture the fast motion, or if you want to show something to be in motion blur, you can do that with shutter speed. Now let's have a look at this image. This photo was taken as 1/400th of a second. You can see the photo is perfectly still, nothing's moving, nothing's blurry. Now have a look at this image. Now this was taken as 60th of a second or slower, I guess. You can see in this image my hands or legs or something in the background is moving because the shutter speed was so slower than the previous one. So the slower the shutter will get, the blurrier the photo will get. But have a look at this image. This small waterfall was taken at 1/200th of a second. You can see the water is so still. But if I decrease the shutter speed to half a second or slower, you can see a milky water. So with these two examples, you can see shutter speed not only affect the portrait photography but also the landscape photography. So now let's move on to aperture. Aperture controls the light and depth in the photo. Let's have a look at this image. Now in this image you can see the subject, the background and the foreground. All three of these are in focus. Because this was shot at a higher f number like f8, f11, f16. So to get a nice bokeh and a shallow depth of field, you have to bump the aperture to a smaller f number, that is f1.2, f2.8, between that. So when you take the photo, you'll get an image like this. This image was taken at f1.8. Now you can see the subject is in focus and the background and the foreground are not in focus because these both work opposite in terms of portrait and landscape. Like in a portrait, we just need the subject to be in focus, but in landscape, we need everything to be in focus. So let's move on to ISO. ISO is basically the sensitivity of the sensor. The higher the ISO, more the light you will introduce to your photo. But this comes with a catch. The higher the ISO, the worse your image will get. With every increasing step of ISO in your image, you are increasing grain or noise in your image. The noisier your photo will get, the worse it will become. So take an example of my camera. I use D5300 I'm recording with. I've tested it and it goes up to 3200 ISO, but after that it gets a lot grainy that I cannot recover that in post too. So before using the ISO, you have to think in mind, or you have to know what camera you are using. Like it's a DX format camera and it's a small sensor, so there will be a lot more noise. If you compare it to a full frame camera, the noise at the same ISO level will be a lot more less because the size of the sensor is a lot more bigger. Here's a suggestion: if you are beginning into photography, you have to learn these things so well that if you look into something, if you look that there is a shot, you know what aperture should be, what ISO should be, and what shutter speed should be. And if you see some image that is overexposed, you know that the shutter speed or the ISO or the aperture is higher, or if you see an underexposed image, you should know that why did that happen. And when you know why all that happened, you should move on to the next step. Learn these things so well because most of the photographers move on without learning these things, which are the basics of the camera. So guys, if you want me to make some in-depth video about any aspect of photography or any aspect of post-processing, ping me on the comment. I'll make the in-depth video for the same. So guys, I'll be making in-depth video in photography because it's a huge community. Many of them are beginners, many of them just stepped into photography, and many of them are intermediate. So to cope up with every level of photography, I have to create every level of knowledge that I have. So that's it guys. Hope this video helped you. Like if it did, and subscribe if you aren't already, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye bye.